What is up, people, and thank you so much for listening to this episode of the New Generation Sports Talk Podcast. A little bit of a shake-up here if you're watching us on YouTube. We're doing the first part of our podcast this week on video, so we're going to give you guys a little bit of an inside scoop and how the sausage is made, so to speak, and how we do our sports talk podcast. So I'm very excited to do this show, Kendall. This is a huge show. One of the biggest sports shows maybe we've ever done when you consider some of the crazy stuff happening in free agency. That's going to be a big part of today's show. Of course, you are my co-host today. What's up, homie?
Yeah, NBA free agency is underway. We're past July 1st, and of course, as every year goes by, nothing big happened.
There's minor deals. Hazonia might have been the biggest deal of them all.
Aaron Baines re-signed with Boston, so that's been a big deal for the Celtics. But other than that, especially in the state of California, not much. The Warriors running it back, Lakers running it back. Nothing big happened with those teams.
Yeah, it was minor stuff happening in the league. But Kendall, this...
Also, I think I heard LeBron went somewhere.
Oh, LeBron... Oh, he made a decision?
Yeah.
3.0? That might be a little something? Yeah, I think we may talk about that a little bit on this show. So we got a lot to get to on the show. We're going to talk pretty much all NBA free agency on this show. This has been the biggest topic of the week. So we're going to focus mostly on that. And then maybe we'll get into some other stuff later on the show. But let's start the show. Let's talk about the king. LeBron James finally made his decision. Actually, I can't say finally. It was pretty quick. I mean, as soon as the July 1st deadline came in, he made his decision to go to the Lakers.
It's finally in the sense that we've been waiting. We knew this day was coming a year.
Yeah, it was inevitable.
We knew, all right, when the Lakers signed Kentavious Caldwell-Pope to that 1-year deal, $18 million, we knew, all right, so Rich Paul and his boys at Clutch Sports are laying down the groundwork to possibly bring LeBron to L.A., but we didn't know if it was going to happen or not. I mean, I have been talking about it for a couple of weeks, and I would be shocked if he didn't go to the Lakers, but it became official quicker than I expected.
Yeah, and LeBron signing a 4-year deal.
That's the surprise also.
That's the big surprise, because recently these deals he's been signing have basically been 1-and-1s or 2-year deals. I think his first year in Cleveland, it was a 2-year deal.
Yeah.
So he has not been doing these longer-term deals. This is a 4-year deal with a 4th-year option, player option, and that was probably the biggest shock of them all. I think everyone kind of assumed that because of the Lakers situation, we don't know what's going to happen with Kawhi Leonard. Obviously, Paul George, who we'll talk about later, he re-signed in Oklahoma City. That kind of shockwaves to a lot of people. Everyone kind of penciled him in as a Los Angeles Laker going to the next season. So when you saw that happen, you thought, okay, LeBron maybe will commit to them short term, see what happens. If things don't work out, he could take his talents elsewhere. But he's committing to the Lakers in a way that he hasn't committed to a team in a very long time. And Kendall, I got to say, this is fascinating in so many ways. First of all, you have what's always kind of been the conversation of LeBron versus Kobe in this generation. That's kind of been one of the big things, especially if you're talking to the kids and the younger people nowadays. And LeBron, it seems to have really ran away with that in recent years.
I've had many of high school lunchroom.
Yeah, the cafeteria arguments.
Kobe, LeBron,
yeah. I've seen them. It kind of shows that how it transcends. Because guys, not to date myself, I've not been in high school in a very long time, and I had those very same cafeteria debates as well. So it's kind of surreal to kind of see this moment where LeBron is putting on the purple and gold. It's also surreal to me that of all the scenarios, and kind of Ryan Russillo, shout out to him, he posted it on Twitter, and I totally agree. Of all the scenarios I saw playing out with LeBron James this offseason, none of them came to my mind that it would include him going with what looks like no one else as of now. They could eventually trade for Kawhi Leonard, but as of right now, it's LeBron and what I'm calling the Suicide Squad. It is Lance Stevenson, is JaVale McGee. They just signed Rajon Rondo today. I mean, this is not.
Yeah, who's next?
This is not your super team.
Mayo.
Yeah, Vernon Maxwell may come out of retirement. I think
Davis.
They may get Xavier McDaniel. Who's some other crazy guys playing in the NBA? Darius Miles may come back out of retirement.
No chill Gilbert.
If they sign Gilbert Arenas, that would be the ultimate Suicide Squad moment, man.
Exactly.
But that's kind of the team they're putting together with these other young guys that they have on their squad. This is not something that I anticipated, though. Even during the season, we had our conversations about, should who will play with the Lakers. And I always said I kind of would be cool to see like LeBron play with like Brandon Ingram and Wall. You've always been like, nah, I don't want to see that.
I don't want to see that. They're not winning anything, like, and I don't think we will. I think there will be another move that will. I think some of them will be there. It may be Lonzo. I'm not entirely convinced Lonzo will be back, but it may be Lonzo if they really wanted him and Rondo to compete at the one. I think Ingram's gone. I'm not sure the fit with Brandon Ingram right now. I mean, you could bring him back. He's a good player. He's the best of their young group, but I feel like he's also the one with the most trade value. You trade Ingram, he doesn't have the baggage of Lonzo. He's younger than Kuzma. He's obviously the guy with the most trade value. So you trade Ingram, you can get back. You may be able to get Kawhi Leonard. It sounds as if they're not willing to do that. They're not willing to package Ingram for a deal that will involve Kawhi Leonard, but we're talking a lot about Kawhi. There are other star players right now in odd situations. Toronto's got two guys that may be on the move. Kemba Walker in Charlotte. Jimmy Butler, Damian Lillard, John Wall. There are plenty of players out there that Bradley Beal. There are plenty of players that could be on the move at some point. So I think there's a chance that this Laker team does not look the way it looks right now. So I'm also not shocked that even if these guys do stay, that LeBron made this move, because I've been saying that I didn't think the Lakers were a lock because it was the best basketball situation.
Right.
I didn't think the Lakers were a lock because, LeBron, I don't think he really, really wants to live in Los Angeles because it's nice weather. He can go to Miami and get nice weather. But the whole Hollywood, LeBron being a media mogul, him having his, production studio, Spring Hill Entertainment, him having his deal with Warner Brothers, and him being slated to do Space Jam 2, all this stuff made me think, because they announced Space Jam 2 a while ago. That was like 3 years
ago. They really announced it, though, or was it just kind of like a thing?
It was official.
It was official?
Warner Brothers said Space Jam 2 was coming out. And
did they ever say LeBron was going to be the star?
Yeah, LeBron starring.
I don't know why I feel like
Justin Lin, director of Fast and Furious, is supposed to be directing it.
Wow.
But we've heard nothing about it in recent years because he's playing. And it's tough to film when you're in Cleveland. Obviously, he lives in Los Angeles in the offseason, but it's just a tougher grind.
But is it though? Kyrie Irving just filmed Uncle Drew in Boston.
Yeah.
I know a lot of that filming was done in New York too. So
Atlanta
as well. So I don't know if like people have always brought up that thing of the movie career, and it certainly worked for Shaq. It's worked for other guys that have gone to Los Angeles, but I don't know if that's like a guarantee where you have to be in Los Angeles to film a movie.
Right.
Other guys
Durant
have done
did
it.
a movie.
Yeah.
In OKC. Yeah. So I see what you're saying. That makes me want to watch Thunderstruck too. I haven't seen that movie.
Makes you want to watch it.
I haven't seen that movie in a long time.
Those are words that I think never been spoken.
That was the last.
Anyone saying I need to see Thunderstruck.
I think Thunderstruck. The last. I haven't seen Uncle Drew yet. Heard it was good, but Thunderstruck I haven't seen in a long time. So I watched it when I was a kid. I actually liked it when I was a kid.
I don't think it's missing anything.
But I do feel like that move, that whole Warner Brothers thing with LeBron, made me more sure that he was going to LA.
Right.
Because I'm like, he has real obligations in Hollywood that if he really wants to make it big in Hollywood, but I think he does, because I think he wants to get to that $1 billion mark, and I think he wants to own a team, he's got to do it with the Lakers.
I hear you on the whole $1 billion mark, Lakers, money, the Hollywood aspect. What makes it curious to me, though, is all I heard from LeBron James going into the end of that NBA Finals was this need for playing with cerebral players, that championship caliber players, and all that stuff he kept talking about that he seemed to hint would be important to him because those would be the things that would be necessary to beat the Warriors.
So are you trying to say that Lance Stevens is not cerebral?
I love Lance Brooklyn. I'm not gonna say that I think of him as a cerebral player. Right. The guys they're bringing in, the kind of move he's made so far, a lot of that to me, it could be maybe he just really was about what you're talking about, money, not money, but like, money in a way, long-term financial benefits. Obviously, playing in Hollywood. Living in Hollywood, full-time lifestyle of the LA landscape. But also, could it be he's entrusted Magic Johnson? That's what's important about that 3 to 4 year deal. Is that one of the biggest things in Cleveland was he couldn't attract any free agents to come there. The only player they got of any ilk or any stature when he's with the Cavs was Kevin Love through a trade, which Kevin Love ended up re-signing. But like at that point, he had max money coming to him because he was traded, and therefore, if he didn't stay in Cleveland, he would have gave up $30 to $40 million by leaving. He's on a championship team, so he re-upped. But there's so many other players that have come and gone through free agency, and none of those guys gave Cleveland a second thought. So when you think about that, and you think about what he's doing here, maybe it's him entrusting Pelinka and Magic to say, okay, this situation is not great. Paul George didn't come over. Kawhi, I don't know what's going to happen with him. The Lakers, with all these one-year deals, are setting themselves up in a way in which you would think that Kawhi could come in and sign with them if he can last the whole year, which that to me just seems unlikely. But otherwise, it seems like he's just really entrusting the Lakers organization and say, all right, this ain't good. Now with Boogie and Golden State, there's no way we're competing with them, but I'll just give you guys a shot, and let's see what we can do in the next 3 or 4 years to build that championship caliber team.
Boogie's in Golden State?
Yes, he is.
When that happened?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Boogie, that whole Boogie Cousins thing going to Golden State, obviously DeMarcus Cousins signed a 1-year deal. We're at the middle of exception to go play in Golden State, and it's a strange move, but people are obviously going crazy, losing their minds, talking about how the rest of the league is screwed, and that we should stop watching basketball.
Like me, I am one of those people.
Ironically enough, and
so me saying that Bob Myers snapped his fingers and ended the sport of basketball was hyperbole.
A little bit, I think when you look at DeMarcus Cousins, he's obviously a great player.
Right.
There's no denying that they became a better team when they let go of JaVale McGee and added DeMarcus Cousins. But with that being said, this isn't them letting go of Harrison Barnes for Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant was a seamless fit with the Golden State Warriors.
You don't think this is the same? It looks similar to me. They're different players. I get what you're saying, that like Barnes and Durant were Durant is Barnes like a homeless man's Durant.
Right.
But they kind of have similar games in some aspects.
Exactly.
Whereas McGee's more your rim runner, shot blocking,
rim
protector, and Boogie's your more traditional low post powerhouse.
Yeah, multiple touches.
Who can then also pass and hit the 3-point.
High volume shot taker. There are differences in Boogie's game, and what we also didn't mention is the obvious character concerns that come with DeMarcus Cousins at times, too. Now, I'm not that worried about that, only because, they have Draymond Green. He was also kind of a knucklehead, and it's worked fine. So, I don't think that'll be a huge concern, and they're so good. It doesn't really matter. DeMarcus Cousins could be the craziest person on the planet, and they could cut him, and they'd still be the favorites. So, that's where I'm it probably won't matter, but at the same time, I do look at it, I'm like, is DeMarcus Cousins post-up more high-quality shot than Curry, Durant, and Thompson threes?
That's where I think...
Or jump shots.
That's where I look at this in the doom and gloom scenario, because when we look at the Warriors, and we can look at maybe what happened in the Western Conference Finals, where when they seemed to get bogged down in some gritty one-on-one style of play, the Rockets were able to play them well. They were better when they were doing better ball movement and running up and down the court. The difference with adding a guy like Boogie Cousins, though, is none of those guys are 6'11", 280 pounds like Boogie Cousins is. Good luck trying to bully a guy like DeMarcus Cousins on the block. And when you have a guy like Cousins on the block, now you can control the pace against maybe teams that teams may say, okay, let's try to play them small and say, you know what, we got to try to just play them small for small and just hope that these guys are off on a night. That they just erased that part of your strategy. You can't even think about playing small anymore against this team because Boogie will score 50. At that series against the Rockets, they were putting Ariza at the 5.
Yeah.
You couldn't even think about putting Ariza at the 5 with this lineup anymore. They take away so many things you can do when you have such a beast like DeMarcus Cousins. And the second part is we talk about Boogie's game and how that conducive, high volume, low post kind of player? Is that a winning kind of player in this league, especially with a guy Cousins who hasn't won big? But think about the teams he's played for, and that he didn't have the kind of shooters he'll have with the Warriors. DeMarcus Cousins will never see a double team. He will never see one because there are snipers all over the court, and he's an excellent passer. The minute they double team, if he's smart, he'll get rid of the ball, and he could average 6 or 7 assists because they're gonna have wide open threes.
Yeah.
So the dilemma that teams will have trying to guard them with a player like Cousins, to me, this is disastrous for other teams trying to compete with the Warriors. I don't know how you compete with them anymore.
Is this the best fit for DeMarcus Cousins? Because obviously he's doing this, saying to himself, look, the offer I got from New Orleans is not what I want to make long term. They probably gave him 3 years, probably no more than 3 years, probably no more than, at that rate, probably, I don't know, $40 million, something like that. And he was like, "No, I'm not doing it." And that's fine. But if you're Boogie Cousins, when I look at DeMarcus Cousins, the worst I've ever seen him play is the 2016 Olympics, playing for Coach K. Draymond Green also didn't play well in that Olympics. Sure. Both those guys look terrible. And it's not a reflection on Draymond's ability. But he just looked like a bad fit. It was like, I don't know, like, he's not getting paint touches playing on this team. Yeah. He's not a rim protector. He's not going to catch lobs. Like, I don't see what Boogie's fit on this team is. And then I also look now. I'm trying to remember. I don't know if it may have also been 2014. I don't know if it was 2014 when it was the World Championships. He's on both those teams. I don't remember which time he looked terrible. He really didn't distinguish himself on either of those teams. He wasn't great on either one. Yeah. I think he had a bigger role on the 2016 one, which is why I think I was more jarred. But regardless, this is that same type of team.
They're playing with an Olympic team.
Yeah, he's playing with all those guys. He's played with those guys. I think besides Iguodala, he's literally played with all those guys. So that's the other question. You know, I had just read that apparently Boston and Golden State were his final 2 choices. So, I mean, as a Celtics fan, that's really. I mean, you talk about adding salt to the wound.
As a basketball fan, that's rough for me.
Had he gone to Boston, that could have been fun.
You really. I mean, obviously, Celtics fan, you've been great, and I'm a Knicks fan, so I don't want to see the Celtics prosper. Yeah. But if we really want to have competition with the Warriors, if DeMarcus Cousins would have went to the Celtics and he could have got healthy by the time the playoffs started, I mean, that would have presented a major issue for the Warriors. The Warriors would have had no chance of guarding him.
And when I look at him, I'm like, I think that would have ended up being better for him financially. Like, I don't know if he's going to look great playing for Golden State. Like, it'll help them. But his numbers aren't going to be... I think if he goes to Boston... Now, again, there's still shots that he probably won't get. It's the same type of team. It's a super team. But regardless, like, I think his role is a little more necessary.
Yeah, Cousins... You could argue Cousins on that team is the best offensive player.
Yeah.
I would say Kyrie, but that's arguable.
Brad Stevens.
There's no argument with he's the third best offensive player on the Warriors when everyone's healthy.
Maybe the fourth. Klay Thompson, we don't know what he is on his own team.
Right. I mean, Klay,
and we don't know what DeMarcus Cousins is on a great team.
Right.
So that was the kind of question. I mean, I've seen DeMarcus Cousins be a looter and a riot, but on a great team.
But obviously on the Celtics, he's a much greater option and a threat on that team. You're trading him for Baines. I mean, come on. I mean, that just changes the entire complexity of that team. And I think for the league, I mean, they're going to be...
Could have gave him more money. Could have gave him $8 million.
I don't know. And I don't know if it was about money. I'll be
Clearly
honest.
It wasn't.
I don't think it was. I think that he looked at this and said...
I think it was about money, but I don't think it was about money the next season.
Right. I think he looked at this and said, look, if I win an NBA championship, if I go out and I dominate, there's probably no better team to rehab and get myself right with in terms of being around a culture than the Warriors if I'm going to have a half season off perhaps, which is probably likely considering his injury. And to be honest, there's probably no better team for me to look good when I come back, when I'm trying to work myself back into shape work myself back into that all-star caliber player than the Warriors. The Celtics are an amazing team, and Brad Stevens makes everyone great. But I don't know if he could hide someone who has a bad Achilles and hide someone who's maybe trying to get himself back into shape. The Warriors can do that. They're that good. Right. To where you can just keep running and just play just smart basketball, and Curry will find you, Draymond will find you. You're gonna get a lot of easy baskets.
Yeah,
those aren't the same with the Celtics. Kyrie's not a pass first guy. Rozier's not a pass first guy. He's gonna get great looks even when he's working himself back into shape with the Warriors. So we looked at that as a guy who's coming off injury and said, this might be a great shot for me to go there, and when I may not look that great early on or may not feel that great, I can still put up some decent numbers.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, man. Like, I mean,
do we blame him?
Like, at the money that he's making, like, the Celtics were the team that came to my mind, because I'm like, man, we don't have a great five, man. Boogie is the perfect guy. Like, he walk into the NBA Finals if everyone's healthy. But there are so many other teams that he could have went to for a mid-level exception. And also, I mean, he could have went to OKC. And now we're talking...
Could have went to the Knicks.
Yeah, exactly.
Not if you couldn't. I guess we could have got him, right?
They would have sacrificed his own years.
Yeah. I'm sure they would have said, sorry, he's only a year out of here.
Of the cap situation. But Washington with his boy John Wall, like... I mean, none of those situations besides Boston would have guaranteed you a spot in the finals.
But again, I think when we talk about his future earnings and what he was looking at in terms of what his future
he thinks a championship will make him look great.
A championship and playing, again, I think playing with that roster is, he knows it's rigged. He knows this. Boogie's not dumb. Like, he knows, he looks at his team and says, yo, like, me at 60% can get 15 on this team, easy, just with the looks I'm going to get. So why am I going to go to a team where I may look worse trying to come back from injury, and me taking this risky 1-year deal has a greater chance to come back to bite me. There's less risk by doing it with the Warriors because there's a better chance you'll play well with the Warriors to me than any other team where you would take that same risk.
Right.
So that's why he's doing
it. One thing that I found interesting real quick was that, like, you know, as a Celtics fan, like, we watched the whole Paul George documentary where he mentioned the Celtics as a contender. Last year, the Chris Paul documentary mentioned the Celtics as a contender. This Boogie thing came out of nowhere. He came out of nowhere. He's going to Golden State, but also that he was considering Boston, and then Durant was the same way. Right. That's just, I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. I mean, because we don't name them as a free agent destination almost ever.
Celtics. I mean, these guys clearly look at. It seems like they've clearly identified that culture, that coach.
I think
what they've established as a place that people
and the assets. Yeah.
Absolutely, they look at the future and say this is a place that they could win championships. And the Celtics, like similar to the Lakers, they always seem to get the greatest players and they always seem to win all the championships. So these guys are smart and they know that. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this podcast segment, be sure to check out all of our shows on the New Generation Podcast Network on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Stitcher.